Hey there, and welcome to another Curtis Stage tutorial. Today's tutorial is in Photoshop, and we're going to be doing a double exposure image. Now we're going to go for something like this, where we have an image of a person and you can put some object inside that person. I've got the files for you to download, so you can use these files, and we're going to get started making something that looks like this. We're going to open up a new Photoshop document. So I'm going to go up to File, New. And when we do that, we can pick a custom size. So when you see this window, this new document window, there's plenty of possibilities here. And you'll see some that you've maybe already saved, or you'll see some preset setups like this from photo or print or whatever. And you'll also see your recent ones as well. So as soon as you can pick any one of these, of course. So if you pick photo, let's say, it doesn't matter what you pick, because then you go over here and we're going to kind of customize the size that we want. So I'm going to go on this one. We're not going to go too big. We're going to go 7 by 5 inches or 5 by 7. So I'm going to go 5 wide by 7 high, because this is a vertical setup here. Resolution can be between 200 and 300. That's fine. I'm just going to keep it at 300. So 5 wide, 7 high by 300. And we're going to keep this at RGB color and 8-bit. So we'll leave all of this like this. We've got a custom setup now. I'm going to click Create. So there we go. Now the very first thing I want to do is I want to save this document before I do anything else. So we're going to go up top to File, Save As, and we're going to save this in a folder. So I made a Multimedia 200 folder for my class, and we're going to call this Double Exposure. You can, whatever you want to name it, but it's kind of nice if you name it what we're doing. And of course, if you're in my class, you're going to be turning this in as a demo assignment, so you can name it that assignment. It's going to be assignment 1. So I'm going to click Save, and there we go. It's a PSD file. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in some images into this PSD file. I've got those in a folder as well. You're going to download those on Canvas, or there's a link on YouTube to download them there. So I've got one image here. I've got this model of a shot that I took before. So I'm going to take this and bring this in, and I'm going to bring this ice kind of background in. Or no, excuse me, I'm going to bring this tree in. We'll do a second one with a polar bear and an ice cap. So I'm going to bring the tree in. I'm going to bring the Estefania in. Now I could drag these in directly into my Photoshop document, and they will be smart objects. So when we drag and that's fine, you can do it that way, and we'll just kind of convert them to rasterized images here. So I'm going to size this up. So I drag that in there, size it up, get it kind of a good size, hit the check mark. You'll see that it's a smart object down here. Now smart object is really great if I'm going between 2 programs and I want to kind of make changes in one program, and it'll take effect in the other one that I'm using the image in. Smart objects are also good for smart filters, and things that kind of could be non-destructive editing. For this tutorial, we're not going to need it as a smart object, so I'm going to go up to Layer and Smart Objects and Rasterize. So once I get it sized and rasterized, you'll see there's no symbol in there anymore, smart object. Let's do that again. I'm going to click my folder that I have on my desktop with my images in it. So I would suggest download those images first. And I'm going to go to the tree one. I'm going to bring this in here. It's a smart object. I'm going to turn it actually. Well, let's see. I don't know. Maybe I'll keep it like this. I'm going to size it up for now. Kind of get it a good size. We can always change that later. There it is. And I'm going to use my move tool. Right? It's in here. I'm going to rasterize it to kind of get it in place where I kind of want it. Go up to Layer, Rasterize, Smart Object, or all layers, doesn't matter. There we go. So we've got this. Okay, I'm going to turn this layer off right now. I don't really need that on. I turn that off, and we're just going to focus on this layer. So first thing we want to do is we're going to need to make a mask. So the best thing to do is to make a selection of your subject. And there's multiple ways to do that, so let's start with that right now. So to create the mask, I'm going to create a selection first of our model here, of our person. And so there's multiple ways to do it. We could use the magnetic lasso tool or the lasso tool, right? I'm going to go down to our quick selection tool. We could also use the magic wand tool, but I'm going to go to the quick selection tool. And with the quick selection tool, if I look in the options bar, I've got the second one in check. This means add to the selection. So it's got the little teeny plus button up there. It's going to add to the selection. And then right up here, it's utilizing a brush. So I'm going to go right here. I'm going to maybe size that maybe around 100, and I'm going to have the hardness. Let's try it at maybe 90, so somewhere in here, 190, and all that's good. Spacing, I'm going to take down to 1%, and I'm going to start up in her hair. I don't want to click out here. I want to start up in her hair and kind of move around and go down into her, right, like this, and get this part of her hair right here. I don't need her shirt or arm or anything like that. I just need her head. So this is great. And if I get a little bit of the shirt in there, that's fine too. I could hold down Option, or I could switch to the minus sign and get that like that. So it doesn't have to be perfect. We want it pretty close. So this is great. So we can make a mask out of this. So I'm going to go down to my layers panel. We're going to click the little rectangle with the circle in it. That's the make mask selection. There we go. We've got a mask on this. Now it doesn't look like anything occurred, but it did. If you look closely, we don't see any details of her shirt, her arm, any of this stuff. Okay, so for the next step, before we kind of add the trees in, I want to turn her black and white. So I'm going to go up to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, Black and White, and I'm selected on this layer, right? So that my adjustment layer will go on this layer, and to really clip it to that layer, I'm going to check this button right here. It says use previous layer to create clipping masks. There we go. Click OK. And I can do some adjustments. Look how my properties panel came up, and I can adjust a little bit in here. I can raise the contrast, lower the contrast. So I can do this, you know, kind of raise it, lower it. Now, we might adjust this in a bit because the way the trees are going to come in here, it's going to make a difference of the way this looks. Now what I want to do is I want to add the trees here. So I'm going to move the trees kind of in place. I turn them on, turn the eyeball on, move them kind of in place. It doesn't matter because we can size this in a minute. We're going to add the mask to these trees as well. So I want to click on the mask itself. I'm going to right click or control click on my keyboard. When I do that, I can see this dialog box that comes up here, right? It's a little pop out, and I want to click add mask to selection. There we go. So now we've got another selection here based off the mask that we've made, and I'm going to go up to the trees and add the mask because I've got a selection. Let me move my properties out of the way, and I can click this, and now I've got the mask there. Awesome. Look at that. So now, of course, well, I can't see her in there now. A cool silhouette, that's great, but so now we're going to need to blend mode this. So I'm still on this top tree layer. I'm going to go to normal, and you can kind of scrub through it and see what are the different, ooh, lightens, cool. So remember, darken to darker color, this section right here. This will blend mode and will knock out any lights. And this area right here, lighten to lighter color, is going to knock out any darks. That's why her hair leaves on this one. And then this area is the 50%. So overlay to hard mix is a 50% blend. It's, you know, neither black nor white. So hard light works pretty well on this, pretty cool. Soft light's a little too soft. So somewhere in here, so my selection could be somewhere in this area, maybe lighter color, something like this. I kind of like that one. We're going to get in and edit in a minute, but maybe I'll try this one. Again, we can always change this. Now, one of the things that we can do to fix this a little bit is I don't want to lose her face. I'm going to zoom in, Command or Control plus, use my keyboard to move around. I like the trees in her hair, but I don't want them in her face. Don't want them totally in her face, maybe a little bit. So what I want to do is I want to, with my paintbrush on this mask right here, I want to paint out softly. So I'm going to go to my paintbrush. I've got black or white to choose from right down here in my toolbar, black or white. I'm going to get a real soft brush here. So I'm going to go to my brushes, open this up, get a real soft round brush, close that again. So the hardness is all the way down. And you'll notice when I paint this out, notice how I'm bringing her back. Now, I'm going to lower my opacity too because I've got a soft brush, but I don't want to lose all the trees. So I'm going to undo Command or Control Z. I'm going to bring my opacity down on this brush. I'm going to try it like halfway or something. And I can make the brush bigger using the brackets on my keyboards to make the brush bigger, and I can soften this up and paint this in. We're going to be doing a lot of painting this semester on our things, and so here we go. I'm kind of got something like this. I get in there so I'm not fully losing her face. Now you can see if I do this, it's kind of maybe pulling a little too much dark in there. So I'm going to undo that little part right there and maybe bring my opacity down just a little bit more and get it fading in her, this fading in her hair, just so it's a nice transition, right? And then maybe even opacity shift this down a little bit more here and get it down to like 7 or 8 or 9. So I just want kind of a smooth transition here into this. And you can kind of click too. So my brush, let's see the hardness. I'm going to take that hardness all the way down to 0. I just noticed I was getting some edges on there. So I took the hardness all the way down to 0, and I'm just kind of clicking in here, just kind of model it a little bit, because I want it to be this smooth transition between the trees and her face. Okay, and you can see on the mask over here that how much I'm kind of affecting this. So that's pretty nice. And if I keep painting over here, I'm going to bring my opacity up. I can keep painting. Look at that. See, that's going to take all the trees out. So I don't really want to do that. I want to leave those trees in. So there you go. And if you don't like how much you did, just switch it back to white. And you can bring your opacity down and kind of bring some back in. Let's see, bring some trees back in, but maybe just her eyes. And remember, I'm painting on the mask here, not on the tree. If you're painting on the tree, you're in trouble here. So I'm going to flip back with black, get my brush smaller, and make sure her eyes and her eyebrow, nose, maybe I'm just getting, my brush is really soft, right? It went back here. My hardness is all the way down to 0. That cannot be up. My opacity, you can fool around with that. Lower, right? Lower the opacity, the softer this effect is going to be. We'll still see some trees in here. I'm just bringing back a little bit of nose and whatever. I don't want to lose all that. That looks pretty cool. All right, nice. And you can clean up on the mask edge, right? I mean, I'll zoom in. I noticed that, you know, around her nose and stuff is a little rough there. So of course you can go to this original mask right here and black hides, white reveals. This is where you'd want to switch your brush back to a hard edge brush. So I'm going up to the paint brush, right? Hard edge right there, and get my brush down real small, and I can zoom way in. Command plus, zoom in, and I cut off part of her lip. That looks kind of strange. Oh, I gotta go to white actually, sorry. And I'll bring that back in, bring my opacity up. So this is the original picture. My mask wasn't perfect. So I want to bring back lip, but this is kind of rough right here. And I know I'm missing some eyelashes there. So I'm going to try to see if I can dig those eyelashes out. Oh, there they are. She's got some long eyelashes. So I'm going to dig those eyelashes out there, but I'm going to try to clean up here now. So I'm going to flip back to black. Think of black as like erasing, right? Black hides, white reveals. And I'm going to just get in there real, kind of like this, something like that. That's a little rough there. So maybe I'll go to a soft brush on this, close that down, and just kind of hit this softly so it's, you know, not, there we go, something like that. And then right here, get that. Doesn't have to be perfect in here. You get the idea. I mean, you could spend some time and get it really nice around the edges. Right, so that looks good. Maybe just a weird thing on her hair right there. I'm just kind of going around. Yeah, you know, her edges are kind of, you could decide how you want to do it. Maybe I'm going to bring the opacity down quite a bit and soften this brush. Is all the way soft, good. And make it big. And if you want like a soft edge around her, you could, or you could do a hard edge. So you could kind of soften that all the way around if you wanted to, so it doesn't look so choppy. So you could do something like that and kind of get in and create that. So I'm not going to do all that right now. You get the idea. So you can get in there and do that with the mask. So you've got two masks here. You've got one that's on the trees and then one that's on her, right? Now let's go back to the trees here. So if I want to move the trees around because I don't like maybe where they're positioned. Now I don't mind mine. Mine looks pretty cool, but do you see this little symbol right in here between the two layers, in between the mask and the actual layer image? If I uncheck that and I click on the trees and I get my move tool here, I can move the trees around and better position them compositionally. So that's up to, you want to kind of mess around with that. I think I got a good one right there. It's kind of nice because what I'm looking at is I'm seeing that tree branch go along the top of her head. It's really nice. So that looks good. So again, that little lock right there, it's like a little chain link. That allows me to get in here. If you don't want to move the mask, it's going to screw everything up. So you want to go to the chain link and you want to move just the tree, and with your move tool, of course. So you have to go to your options bar with the move tool, and then you can move this around. Very nice. You don't want to move anything down here, right? If you have this chain link on, they're both going to move at the same time. So I'm going to undo that, but you go back and Command Z a couple times. There we go. I really like that setup there. And then I want to lock that chain there so it doesn't, kind of do anything. Now let's do a final step. Let's do a fill color over the top of this. I did it back in this one, in this demo. It's kind of cool right here. Just doing a gradient fill over the top for a blend. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to add a new layer down at the bottom. So we've got some choices down here. We could go to solid color. So if I hit this little half circle at the bottom of the layers panel and I could do a solid color, but I could also do a gradient right here. So I've got a preset gradient already made, but I can look in here and see some of these other ones that are in here. So something in the cool blue tones, right? Something like that, or I don't know. So I'm going to go into the blues, but you can pick any one of these. You can go to the purples and make it crazy. Now we don't see her yet. We're going to have to blend mode her in. I'm going to start off with the blue. Again, I can always change this. So I'm going to click OK to that. I can change the angle and everything as well. So it's got a mask on it, right? I could paint that out, but I could also just blend mode it so I could see her through it. So this is pretty cool. So if I go to, up here, I'm doing knockouts. It's going to knock out all the white. It's going to knock all the dark, so it'll only stay within her. So this is up to you. I kind of dig that. It's pretty dramatic. Then you could do kind of the 50-50, right? So you could do a hard light right on this, and you could lower the opacity down so that it's not, super intense. You could decide on this. This is up to you guys when you turn yours in. This is where you can get kind of creative with this. And of course, if you were making like a full poster out of this, you could have some text, font in here, whatever, kind of other images could happen in here. So it's really good. So this is kind of a fun project here. Again, if I want to double click and change that map, let's say I don't like that gradient, now that I've got the blend mode on, I can see what other gradients look like. That's kind of cool. Let's see what's going on in the reds. All right. These are all just pre-made ones. I mean, you can get in and edit your own gradient, but hey, there's plenty in here to choose from. So I would say choose one of these. Oh, this orange one's kind of cool. So I'm going to click OK to that. And again, you can lower the opacity down. You can try different blend modes and see what they do. And again, blend modes are how layers interact with each other in a composite. So I personally like the hard light one, so that's good. Now let's say I want to move her whole thing down. I would probably have to select both of these and move them down. But one thing I could do is I could hold Shift down, select all three of these layers, and put them in a group folder so I could move them all together. So let me do that. Do you see this little folder button down here at the bottom of the layers panel? If I click that, it just put all of that into a group folder. Now I can go over here to my move tool, and where it says auto select layer, I can switch that to group. And now look, I can move, oops, let me lock this gradient up here. I don't want to be moving that. So I'm going to go to the group here, and if I've got the move tool with auto select group, watch how I can move her around anywhere on my screen. So this is great when you're now, because again, you could have multiples of these. Look at this. I'm going to make a copy of this. I'm going to drag this down to my add layer button. I've got two of them now. So now I can take this and move it around. I could, you know, have two of them, whatever. I can have some crazy stuff happening here. I could transform this and flip it around or rotate it or whatever. I could, you know, kind of have fun with it. So I want you guys to get creative with this. You know, you've got the double exposure. You don't have to do it exactly like I do it, but get creative. Maybe come up with a cool image out of this. You don't have to do any of this duplication stuff, but it's kind of fun. I don't know. I'm just messing around. I have no idea what I'm doing right now, but I like the possibilities that could start happening here with compositionally and creating an image. Right, so something could happen like this, where I'm kind of messing with that, kind of doing a, I don't know. It's about making engaging images, and throughout this whole class, that's one of the things that we're going to be doing, is trying to make engaging images. And right now I have no purpose to this image, but you know, making it engaging. So I did this with her, and if you want to do a second one, I had put in our canvas and on YouTube a couple more images. I did one with a polar bear and you know, kind of an ice block background. Try the same technique with this. You're going to be turning in 2 demo images to me if you're in my class. You're watching this in my class, my advanced imaging class. You're going to be doing 2, you're going to turn in 2 of these. So you're going to want to turn in one with her in it and one with the polar bear in it. You could also pick another image if you want and do it yourself with images you choose. So one of the keys I'll leave you with is, when you're doing this, you want to find images that are relatively the same size. And what I mean by that is the picture of the model and the picture of the tree, they're relatively the same size in pixel dimension. So you want to, if you're going to find images on your own, you're going to want to find images that are not, you know, that are similar size. Okay. All right, so that will conclude our double exposure in Photoshop. Get creative with it. Remember, you're going to be turning in, if you're in my class, you're going to be turning in 2 of these into our demo assignment. So have fun with it, and we'll see you next time.